thank you everybody for coming today. Means a lot to me that you guys made time out of your busy schedule to come down here, listen to a 15-minute presentation about how to smoke ribs on a charcoal grill. By just a show of hands real fast, how many of you are familiar with smoking meat on a grill? Well, great. I hope I got all the right information on there.
Yeah, look at you, go ahead.
So, let's get started. So a little bit about myself. My name is Andrew Perlak. Hello.
Hi, Andrew.
Hi. I'm originally not from around here, as many of you can tell from my accent.
No, never would get it.
I'm originally from Northeast PA. Anybody here at the office, Scranton, Pennsylvania? If you go about half hour east of there, there's a little town called Greentown, Pennsylvania. That's where I'm from. So a little town where everybody knows each other by its first name and they know your family and all that fun stuff. So when I was in high school, I started in emergency services. I got my EMT license through a high school program. Through there, I just wanted to continue my education in the fire service. After high school, I moved down to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, where I attended Harrisburg Area Community College for my fire science technology degree. While doing that, I was a live-in firefighter with Hampton Township. Living at the firehouse full-time was a great way to get experience, great way to get to know the job, get to meet people, learn different things. While doing that, I was also working in Harrisburg City as an EMT. 2017, I was fortunate enough to come down to Raleigh, North Carolina to test with the Raleigh Fire Department. My second time around was successful in getting a job here. So I rode on the fourth busiest engine company, Engine 19, soon to be #1 this year. So I'm an amateur barbecuer. I love, grilling and everything like that. It's a fun hobby for me. When I moved down here, I really try to get into smoking since, that's a southern thing down here, smoking meat. So it was very interesting to me, the science behind it and everything else. I'm a dad of 2 little fur babies back home. Luna and Raymond. So some of the learning objectives that we're going to learn today. You guys, at the end of the day, you know what tools are going to be needed. You're going to know how to clean your workstation. You're going to learn what charcoal to burn with, the different types of woods that are out there, what type of flavors they give off. You're going to know what type of ribs are out there. We got pork ribs, we got beef ribs. We're going to get a little bit more into that, the different cuts in meat of the different animals out there. We're going to learn how to prepare the ribs and look how to cook and smoke the ribs. Does anybody have any questions right now? All right. Please hold your questions till then. Thank you. So
that's a good point. Chicken ribs.
Chicken ribs, yeah. Oh, it's not chicken ribs,
sir, I'm presenting. Thank you. So the tools that we're going to need. For this course, we're going to learn how to smoke on the charcoal grill. The charcoal grill out there with the temperature gauge is the best one to probably use. It's easier to tell what temperature the grill is at. Since we're going to be cooking for 2 to 3 hours at a time, even longer, with different types of ribs, it's important to keep it at a certain temperature. We don't want to cook them too high for too long or too low for too short. So some of the tools that we're going to need. Charcoal chimney. It's a great way, it's an easy way to get all your charcoal lit evenly before you spray it down the bottom grate there. And make sure they're all pre-lit, they're burning at a certain temperature, the right temperature. We're going to need a lighter and cardboard to light it on fire, and then something to move the meat around on the grill. So does anybody know when the charcoal grill was invented? Anybody want to take a guess?
I don't know, some of us.
91!
World War II.
He remembers.
Well, it was actually pretty later than that. It was actually in the early 1950s by George Stephan was his name. It was actually originally called the kettle grill back then. So, a little history right there. So what type of charcoal is out there? We got 2 different types of charcoal that are pretty much make the majority of the charcoal out there. We got the lump charcoal, which is on top, and we got the briquettes, which is on the bottom. It took me all day to try to say that. It's still taking me time to learn how to say it. So lawn charcoal is basically made from natural wood. You've got hickory, oak, cherry wood, apple wood, all different types of woods that are basically broken up into big chunks of wood. They burn for a shorter period of time. They only last for about 30 to 40 minutes before you have to add some fresh lump charcoal on top of that. The good thing about lump charcoal, unlike the briquettes at the bottom, they don't produce too much ash. If you have to add some extra ones, it doesn't produce too much ash to come up. And it also gives you a nice natural flavor. You know, you don't have any of the fast slider, charcoal out there that has petroleum built into it. All that stuff doesn't go onto your food. So the briquettes are designed to burn at a steady broiling temperature at least 600 degrees for 1 hour. So they're made out of wood scrap, sawdust, coal dust, or petroleum binders. So if you're going to buy those type, you want to buy the natural ones, the ones that are made out of wood. You don't want anything that has the petroleum and everything else into it. So the different woods for smoking. These are the best woods to smoke while you're cooking ribs. We got hickory. It provides a strong flavor that cooks into the meat. If you use hickory too much or you use a lot of hickory, it can overpower the meat. So you want to make sure you're using just the right enough. I found out about 2 to 3 cups is enough of it. It gives you a very sweet taste as well. Oak, it provides a strong taste in the meat, but it will not overpower it like the hickory. And it's a slow burning wood as well. So it's not going to burn up too fast and you're not going to have to add too much more of it. The mesquite is a fast burning, and that's because it has a lot of oils concentrated into the wood itself. So once it gets to a burning certain temperature, it's just going to start burning a lot faster. So you're going to have to keep on soaking it down with water to keep that temperature down low. And it also gives you a sweet and piney taste. So cleaning of the workstation, I find this very interesting because how many of you clean your house on a regular basis, your kitchen? What do you guys use to clean your kitchen?
6-year-old.
Children.
Does anybody use a sponge, cloth to wipe it down at the end of the day or at the end? So experts say out there that your kitchen countertop is more dirtier than a toilet seat. There was a study done by Dr. Charles Gerba that actually said it was safer and better to prepare a salad on a toilet seat versus your kitchen countertop.
I'm from Missouri, he might have shown me.
He conducted a study of 1,000 sponges, and out of the 1,000 sponges, 10% had salmonella on it. And most of it had E. coli and fecal matter on the sponges and the cleaning cloths as well. So they say that you should microwave your sponge at the end. You should put it in the microwave with a cold glass of water in there, just to keep it pretty much humidified, and that's a good way to kill off certain bacteria and everything else.
I never thought about that.
Every time we run the dishwasher, we put ours on the top shelf of the dishwasher.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Pipe towels, throw them away.
Not for washing dishes. I don't use it
So,
on the countertop.
If the workstation is dirty,
We'll hand wash dishes.
you want to clean it with items like Lysol or a non-harsh chemical, something that's not going to leave a residue. So if you're preparing your,
I follow, how long do we put the sponge in the microwave?
for about 30 seconds.
Till it smokes.
So it looks like that charcoal briquette.
The sponges go good with barbecue sauce.
This is true. So you want to use Lysol or something that's not going to leave a harsh chemical residue at the end of the day. what we use at our house is a 50-50 solution of warm water and distilled vinegar. It's a natural cleaner out there, doesn't leave any type of harsh residue on the countertops or anything like that. So we're going to be cleaning the grill. Sometimes, we get lazy. We don't clean the grill once it's still warm. We don't wipe it down or we don't brush it off. Simple ways, if you have a wire brush, you can just take a wire brush to the grates there. You knock everything off. Or if you don't have a wire brush, get just aluminum, some silver foil, crumple it up into a ball, and just go on the grate back and forth until it's nice and clean.
A learning point, just for the record, there's been some cases of the wire brush bristles pieces getting left on the grill and getting in food, and they'll get stuck in their throat. So the trend now, they look like a paddle, but they're wood. They start out flat, but eventually they actually groove to your grill, and that's what a lot of people are using to clean their grill with now. It removes the chance of the.
I did not know that.
Huh?
That's interesting.
Yeah, that was on a show monsters inside us where the little fire broke out.
No kidding.
Yeah. I still use.
Y'all get out of
Oh, I do both. If it's really dirty, I use the wire brush and then follow up with the wood thing, but because the wire brush still works great.
Thank you for that.
Charcoal.
So
Gas grill.
now we're getting into the ribs itself. We got different sections of the ribs provide different tastes. Some are more of a lean cut, some more have a very fatty taste to it. The two main types of ribs I come across when going to the local stores are pork and beef. So looking at the pictures here, you can see where the slabs of meat come from. On a cow here, we got the ribs up here, and then we got the short plate down here. And off the pig, you can see where they would make the cuts in order to get the ribs there. Ribs can give you some nutrients. You think, ribs, you think meat, fat, is bad for you. But doing some research about it, it actually has a couple benefits. It has a lot of protein for your body, and it has a lot of iron and zinc that your body needs as well. So it's actually kind of healthy for you.
Meaty salad.
So pork ribs and beef ribs. So looking at the slide up here, we have 3 different types of pork ribs and we have 2 different types of beef ribs. The 3 different types of pork ribs, we have back ribs, which is a tender meat, the spare ribs, which is a fatty meat, and it's more of a triangle shape. And the only difference between the spare ribs and the St. Louis ribs is that the St. Louis ribs are cut into a rectangle instead of a triangle. That's the only difference, and it's the good meat you want that's lost in a St. Louis rib. So, if anything, go with the spare rib. It's going to be a little bit cheaper than the St. Louis ribs. So the 2 different types of beef ribs, we got the back ribs, which is less meat versus the short ribs, but it has a similar taste and a similar texture to a pork rib, pork back rib. The short ribs, they're very expensive, but they're very tender and flavorful. If you got the money and you got the time, the short ribs are the better option, but you're going to have to cook them longer at the end of the day. Instead of 2 to 3 hours on the grill, you're going to have to spend about 4 or 5, possibly even 6 hours cooking them. So preparing the ribs and wood for smoking. So I made this mistake the first time I ever cooked ribs, and Heisey was with me and he can testify to this. I didn't know there was a membrane on the back of the rib.
It's educational.
So when we were cooking the ribs up, and at the end of the day, when we got them out of the oven, you're looking at them and you bit into them, and it had this very chewy taste to it. You're actually chewing on the membrane itself. So when I went to the firehouse the next day and the guys asked, hey, how did those ribs come out? I'm like, yeah, they're a little chewy. And they're like, well, did you take the membrane off? I didn't even know there was a membrane. So remove the membrane from the back of the ribs. In that picture there, you can see actually the membrane itself coming off the back of the ribs, and that's what it would look like.
That wasn't a case of overhydration, was it?
Overhydration, I mean, there was a lot of waters going around in the garage that day, so. Juicy juice and everything else. So once we took the membrane off, we want to lay it on a clean surface. Using a cooking sheet is the best way because it's easy to transfer it out to the grill then. So when we want to season the ribs, there's all different types of rubs that you can go out there and put on the ribs. Try whatever you like the best. What I like the best is the applewood or hickory sea salt. You sprinkle a generous amount on the meaty portion of the ribs, some on the back of the ribs, the bony section, and to top everything off, a little bit of brown sugar and a little bit of salt and pepper. And cook straight into the meat, and it gives it such a juicy, good flavor that makes you want to go back for more. So after we prepare the ribs, we want to prepare the wood. We just don't want to throw dry wood basically onto a grill. It defeats the purpose of smoking. You're going to smoke it real fast, and that's about it. We want to soak the wood for about 30 minutes prior to cooking it or smoking it. So put in a little bit of bowl of water, and that does the trick. It also prevents the wood from catching fire. I read that it also gives more of a smoky flavor. The flavor itself in the wood is more concentrated when it comes out, once it starts smoking. So preparing the grill. First of all, we want to make sure our grill is clean. So after we cleaned it, we want to use the charcoal chimney. Has everybody seen what a charcoal chimney looks like? All right. We put our charcoal in the charcoal chimney, light a couple pieces of cardboard on fire. Coals get nice and red hot. If you're using a lump charcoal, you're going to look for a reddish tint, like a coal, a hot coal. That's the time when it's ready to be poured into the bottom grate of the grill there. If we're using the briquettes, you want to look for a grayish ash color. That's when it's ready. So using the charcoal chimney, it provides the charcoal that's burning evenly. Lump charcoal burns very unevenly. So if you're going to be using this, the whole entire charcoal should be burning evenly by the time you pour it in. The intake damper, which is on the bottom of the grill, it lets the air come into the grill itself. It oxygenates the charcoal, keeps basically the combustion going. And the top of the lid, you're going to have the exhaust damper. That's basically just to expel heat and gas inside the grill. So if you're using charcoal grills, I never used one until I moved down here. I always use propane and gas. So there's a board there, watch out for it. You don't want to trip over like I almost did. So using the charcoal grill, you had to really know what you're doing. I really still sometimes don't even know what I'm doing. Moving the dampers back and forth, trying to get it right. I found a good rule of method is use a 50-50 ratio. The intake damper should be about half shut, and the top one should be about half shut or half open, the way you look at it. So that gives it a good temperature, and usually it's between 250 and 300 degrees by the time you pour the charcoal in. So what happens if your grill doesn't have a temperature gauge on it? How are you going to find out? There are some ways that people say you can just put a meat thermometer on top of the exhaust, the exhaust damper. That doesn't really give you an accurate temperature reading. One of the ways, you take the top lid off of the charcoal grill there, and you put your hand about 6 to 8 inches above the charcoal. If you're able to hold your hand there for 2 to 4 seconds, it's about 450 to 500 degrees. If you're able to hold it there for 5 to 7 seconds, it's about 350 to 450 degrees. 8 or 10 seconds, you're about 250 to 350 degrees. And that's the optimal range for smoking. You want to be around 250 to 300 degrees. Use common sense. Don't be a man and hold your hand there and see how long you can hold your hand there. Use common sense. Don't get burned. So once the grill is lit, make sure your charcoal is ready. You gotta make sure that charcoal is ready before you dump it in there. You wanna make sure it's burning evenly. So, like I said before, you wanna look for that grayish color if you're using the briquettes. Use the 50-50 ratio for the dampers. You wanna place the ribs meat side up, bone side on the grate there. You really don't wanna disturb the meat too much. You wanna leave it rest there, let it cook. You don't wanna keep on picking it up, see if it's ready or anything. If you're using pork ribs, it's usually gonna take about 2 to 3 hours if you're cooking it at 250 to 300 degrees. The beef ribs will usually take it the same, except for the short rib, they might take 4 to 5 hours. And you wanna place the wood chips that we've been soaking in a bowl of water. You wanna put them in some type of aluminum foil, poke a couple holes in there, and put that on the grill right next to the ribs. So once the charcoal, it's gonna warm up the wood chips, they're gonna produce smoke, and it's gonna smoke the meat. So finishing off the ribs, something that I've been, I read in, you don't wanna put your barbecue sauce or whatever type of sauce you want while you're cooking it on the grill. A lot of them say, it burns the sauce and doesn't give it you don't get the full effect of the flavor. So they said, bring the ribs off the grill, put them on a cooking sheet, wrap the ribs up in tin foil, and put whatever barbecue sauce you want on then, and put it in the oven. You don't want to cook the ribs anymore. They're already cooked, so you just want to keep them at a nice internal temperature. So your oven around 150 degrees would do the work. So you want to cook it for about 30 minutes. That barbecue sauce is going to get nice and warm. It's going to sink into the meat, soak into the meat. It's going to give you a really juicy bite every single time. So, since you guys are all instructors in here, I know this would be kind of clever to say. You guys are used to smoking recruits all the time. You guys smoked the recruits for 7 months at the academy, and it was the best 7 months of my life. It really was. So
Come out Tim, some come out tough.
smoking, the recruits is like smoking meat. It takes time, it takes patience. Have a cold glass of water while you do it. Proper hydration is always important. And at the end of the day, if you do it the right way, smoking the meat will come out pretty good. So you guys smoked me for 7 months, and look how I came out. I mean, it's pretty perfect. So, does anybody have any questions? Do you guys want to share any type of things you do differently, any recipes or anything like that? I know you do. Yeah, I can just see the smirk in your face, and you just want to jump up here and be like, "You're wrong. This is what you do."
If I learned anything going to Chapel Hill, I learned is tell you how to do it better.
You learned what?
Just tell you how to do it better.
It's all in what you like. I will suggest, have you been to Grill Billy's?
I have not.
They got 2 locations, one's on Capitol, one's in Wendell.
Yeah, man.
They've probably got 50 different rubs, and you can go in there and sample them all. And they are big fans of layering and combinations. I could probably keep 10 in my cabinet, and I mix and match depending on what meat I'm cooking at the time. But that would be worth a trip to get you some
Hey,
good rubs.
did they sell the different grills and stuff too?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Green egg? Do they have the green egg?
Or the knockoff, the other one. There's another one, same thing. but-
Kamado Joe.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
The
They're on the way. They're right there, like you're going to Perry's on the left. I've been wanting to stop by there just check that place out.
The real advantage of lump.
Oh yeah.
Love you guys. Thank you. Honestly,
Good job, man. Good job.
thank you. If you guys want, I cooked some ribs back there, so help yourself.
He
Those little pizza?
does a presentation.